Hey guys, your friendly neighborhood Flaring Pain here. We are hopping into an Amonkhet draft. Waiting for one more lucky drafter to join us. Alright, as we crack open our pack and we look at our rare, it is Cascading Cataracts. Not the most exciting card ever, and pretty bad in draft. My dad actually plays Magic too. He went ahead and took one of these first pick the other night at an F&M event, and somehow he still managed to go 3-0. That was pretty savage, and that's not something that's going to be easily duplicated. So I would definitely recommend kind of staying away from this card. It's not very good in this format, and it's just not a very good card. Definitely not a first pick. So looking around the pack, we've got a lot of nice blue and green cards. With the Vitalist, the Weaver of Currents, Shimmer Scale Drake, Seeker of Insight. Final Reward is a great black card. This guy, the River Serpent's good in the cycling deck, but Angler Drake is just a lot better than the rest of the pack. Angler Drake is a new take on Mistraven, which was a 2/2 flyer for 2 blue, and he had the bounce effect as well. And these all harken back to the original Mana War, who is just a really powerful card. Being able to play a creature and kind of push them back a little bit is very nice. Okay, here we've got a couple options. We've got a Trial of Zeal. This is the best trial in the set, and it's a pretty strong card in its own right, even if you don't get to pull it back. Just 3 damage for 3 is pretty good. Cartouche of Knowledge is cool because it's a nice draw spell, and it also keeps us in blue, which is something I'm a fan of, sticking in a color. Final Reward is a good card as well. I think here, this early in the draft, we're going to go with the Trial. There's an argument for taking the Cartouche to just stay blue. Cartouche is a very good card. There's an argument to take the Final Reward too, as it could be better. It could just be better. It can deal with a lot more things. It can get rid of the gods, and it can get rid of any creature, with the exception of the hexproof, the 6/7 hexproof, which nothing can get rid of essentially. I like taking the Trial this early though, because it's possible we could end up with a few cartouches, and that would make the Trial really powerful. Also, the Trial's not a bad card, so its floor is still pretty high. Okay. Here we've got Harvest Season. Not a huge fan of this one. There's probably a way to make this good, but I'm not going to be the one that finds it. Problem with this card is that it only lets you ramp after you kind of already have creatures in play and mana. So you already have been doing stuff, and then now you're allowed to ramp. So it's not terribly exciting. Here I'd be looking at the Ceradon, the Illusory Wrappings. Those are the cards that I would be considering here. Also, maybe the Evolving Wilds. Not sure which of these cards is the best to take. The Scribe of the Mindful is fine too, but it's not the best thing ever. I think we're going to go with the Illusory Wrappings, and we're going to try to be a Flyers deck. Illusory Wrappings is a lot worse if you are not trying to win the game with Flyers, and if you are, it gets a lot better. Alright, so now that we have the Trial of Zeal already, the value of the Cartouche is going to go up, so we're going to take that. There's some other good cards in this pack for us, like Essence Scatter and Labyrinth Guardian. I think normally in this pack, if Trial didn't have the text that it had where it could come back from the Cartouche, I think I would take the Labyrinth Guardian. But because of just the generating this additional upside possibility of getting to cast the Trial twice in the game, we're going to take the Cartouche. Remember that all the Trials, they can be returned by any Cartouche. Whenever you play a Cartouche, whenever you have one enter the battlefield in your control, you'll be able to retrieve all your Trials. So it doesn't matter if you pair them up different colors. You know, having a blue Cartouche will still return this red Trial. Alright, so looking over this pack, we've got a Trial of Knowledge, which is a pretty sweet card. With the cartouche, it's something that we would consider for sure. We've got Magma Spray, though, and that's a good card too. It's a nice early game removal, which would go well if we're trying to win in the air. Heckma Sentinels is a fine card. Decision Paralysis is actually a pretty solid card out of the board. I don't like to play it in the main in these controlling decks, but it's pretty nice out of the board, specifically against red or white when they have a lot of Exert or Haste. I think we're going to go with the Magma Spray here, though. I see the argument for the Trial, and the Trial's a good card. But really, the Magma Spray, it's just really strong, and it's just very nice removal. It can kill a lot of things in this set, and it's even better in this set than Shock typically is, because the Exile is pretty relevant versus Embalm. There are a lot of 2 toughness creatures with Embalm that it can really wreck. Alright, here's Heaven to Earth. Red-green is a pretty solid archetype, and it's a pretty good card. We've got another Illusory Wrappings, which I've got my eye on. We could take a Heckma Sentinels as well. We're pretty short on creatures so far. I don't know that we're going to be cycling or discarding a lot, so taking this Heckma Sentinels would be taking a 2/3 for 3. I do expect this deck that we're playing here to be creature light, no matter how we ended up. So the Hazoret's Monument will not be very strong for us. I think I'm going to take the Heckma Sentinels just to be safe, so we don't have a creature shortage. Though I do like the Illusory Wrappings more than it. Okay, this is kind of an interesting situation. So this card right here is a decent. The counterspell effect is fine in this deck, but the lands don't untap during their controller's untap step is a really weird effect. In fact, this is the first time I've actually read this card. I didn't realize. I thought this was 3 creatures can't block. I thought this was Panic, but it's not. 3 target lands don't untap. Super weird card. You know, I don't know about that card. I think we're gonna go with maybe the Pathmaker Initiate here. Alright, so we got a Tormenting Voice as an option. We've got Decision Paralysis out of the board possibility. We could also just grab the Evolving Wilds. I think that's what we're going to do here. Winds of Rebuke is a fine card as well. But I think I like the Evolving Wilds here. This card's worth talking about. Oh, sorry. So it looks a lot like a card, a lot of other cards that are just totally unplayable in Limited. This card's not the worst in Limited. It's not great either. It's kind of like a bad version of, well, it's not as good as Illusory Wrappings, which is also not the best card. So I really am not a fan of it, but it's still something. Yep, so the other drafters were able to draft correctly and also did not take the Cascading Cataracts. We're going to slam the Seeker of Insight. It's really the only card in the pack for us. So I'm not sure this guy came all the way around. It's kind of a strange thing to happen. I think that's what we're going to take just to try to stem the flow of blue around the table. We don't want Fling, I don't think, so we're going to take the Scribe of the Mindful, and I think it's unlikely we're going to play it. Most of our non-creature cards appear to be enchantments currently. We're going to take Violent Impact, put that on the board as well. Alright, we still got the Illusory Wrapping, so that worked out great. So we've got a ton of enchantments that will fuel our Seeker of Insight. All of them are cards we would play during our turn, and then the Seeker would be able to loot. Pathmaker Initiate is not very good in this deck, but it is a 2-drop creature. We may find some use for it. We may end up cutting it. Throne of the God Pharaoh. This card's kind of weird. It's not great. It's okay. Cast Out is one of the very best cards in the set. We could consider taking it here. But we do have Electrify, which is not as good as Cast Out, but it's pretty darn good in its own right, and it probably warrants us just taking it and not splashing white. Keeping our mana nice is something that has a pretty high value, and something that I personally put a really high value on. Making it so that you can actually cast all your spells is it's just a powerful plan. I think we're going to take the Electrify here. Hopefully this Neff Crop guy will get back to us, even though, or actually the Top Crop Skirmisher might be even better for this deck. We do need some more flyers. We could definitely use some of the Cycling Drake or the 3/2 Aven Initiate. Cruel Reality is a pretty oppressive card. If your opponent can actually cast this card, it's pretty hard to win through unless you do it really fast. It's not quite as damning as Sandworm Convergence, but it's still a powerful card. It's a powerful enchantment, so it's pretty hard to get rid of. Cast Out can stop it, and this card right here, Forsake the Worldly. But white's the only color that really got the ability to deal with these enchantments once they're in play. Alright, so we've got an Electrify and a Magma Spray here. I think that we're going to have to take the Magma Spray. Magma Spray is something we can play in the early game to keep us alive. Magma Spray can also deal with some of the nastier threats that are in the aggressive decks that might try to kill us before we can get online. And these illusory wrappings, even though they're not that great, they do deal with the things that Electrify would deal with as well. Alright, so here we go. We've got another Reduced to Rubble. At some point we may consider taking one of those. But we've also got a Drake, and we definitely need another flyer. We could use a few more flyers, actually. We're going to go ahead and grab that. It's worth noting that this is a white cartouche. We could grab that and greedily try to pull our trial back all the time. But we don't want to be stupid. We want to make sure that we're making a prudent choice, and I think this is the more prudent choice over here, the Shimmer Scale Drake. Alright, looking over this guy. We do have Consuming Fervor, which is really kind of a pain. It's kind of a gross card. It gives you a bunch of extra damage right away, and then it slowly ticks you down. It's a color shifting of Unstable Mutation. Brute Strength. A lot better if you have a lot of creatures, and we really don't. But we have a lot of flyers, so it can be just 3 to the dome a lot of the time. And it does pump the toughness by 1, so it can save your creature. It can happen. It's not the worst. We could also take that Scribe and the Mindful. Not a huge fan of the Scribe in this format because you end up with a lot of non-creature cards that are not instants or sorceries. We're going to take the Brute Strength. I don't know if we're going to play it or not, but we're going to take it for now. Alright, Magma Spray. So as we get all these Magma Sprays, it's starting to look more and more like we're going to play our Scribe of the Mindful. Although, I don't even know if it's really worth calling back the Magma Spray if it's that strong. It may not be. But Magma Sprays are pretty sweet, and they will help us defeat our opponent. Alright, I think we're going to go with Tormenting Voice here. We've got a bit of a creature shortage, and Tormenting Voice can help us get to our threats faster. This pack's pretty lame for us. We're going to need to get paid off pretty nicely in pack 3, or we're going to have trouble fielding a deck with enough creatures in it, but we're going to take another Tormenting Voice for now. Oh, cool. An Enigma Drake. Oh, but also a Naga Oracle. Let's see here. Although, we may be getting into the spells deck here. We may actually, I'm doing all this talking about how the spells deck doesn't exist, and maybe here it is. Yeah, I think we are going to take the Enigma Drake here. It's a great blocker, even if we don't have enough instants or sorceries to really get it going. I don't know how good this guy is going to be in our deck. I actually think the Decision Paralysis could be better than him in our deck. But he's kind of like he can really get the job started by himself, and it's possible we could just kill the things that are blocking him with Magma Spray and just kind of continue to beat on them. So I think we're going to take the Neff Crop Entangler. Alright, so even though we've got the red-blue going, usually this card's good in that, but this only returns Cyclers, and we really don't have a ton of Cyclers, so I think what we're going to do is actually grab the Reduced to Rubble. And I guess another Reduced to Rubble. And a Scribe of the Mindful. Interesting. Alright, we'll take this illusory wrappings here. Okay. So this is kind of a weird situation. I think these only count as one instance of an instant or sorcery in your graveyard. Yeah, like a single card, so I think that counts as a single card for the Drake and a single card for the Scribe of the Mindful. Or not, so for the Drake's the only one that counts them for right now. But still not bad. Kind of an expensive counterspell effect. But they do something later. We hopefully won't have to run all these cards that we have. We'll be able to make some changes to this, because we could use some more creatures. Definitely some more win conditions would be nice. Wow, this is not what I was hoping for. Mana Core of the Gauntlet is okay, I guess. Never Return is an amazing card. This card is really awesome. Very cool card. But again, this guy, he's kind of mediocre. Can deal a little damage to the opponent. Scribe of the Mindful is not a card I want to first pick out of a pack. In fact, I don't think I'm ready to take that step in my life where I can first pick Scribe of the Mindful. I don't even really like to play him. I think I'm going to take the Evolving Wilds first instead. This card is worth noting as well. It's a strong card. Borderline we could pick it, but I don't really want to splash for it. It's not quite that powerful. Okay, here we've got Warfire Javelineer, who actually could be good in our deck with how many different instants and sorceries we've got. We also might be able to table this card, as it's not going to be good in very many people's decks, and both of these came back to us, which indicates that deck's probably open. We could take the Essence Scatter first, which might be a better call. We also could take Cartouche Zeal, because even though it's not that great in our deck, it still can get random value sometimes, and it can bounce our Trial of Zeal back to our hand. We also could take Cast Out, because it's one of the best cards in the set. We can just splash it. I think we're going to take... I think we should take Essence Scatter maybe here, or the Warfire Javelineer. Yeah, we're going to take the Essence Scatter here. Hopefully we will wheel the Javelineer. Okay, this is a pack that doesn't really have much for us. We're going to take the Crab. The Crab is going to help us last long enough to be able to kill our opponent with flyers. I don't know for sure that we'll play the Crab, but I think we probably will play the Crab. Aw, Hapatra. That's an awesome card. Really powerful card. Emberhorn Minotaur is solid. We might need him. We're pretty creature light. Got another Scribe of the Mindful here, and Pursue Glory, which could be decent here since it can cycle, but I think we're going to go with the Emberhorn. We need some guys, and he's a pretty decent threat. Could like another blue Cartouche and another Seeker of Insight for this deck. Okay, I think here we could take Limits of Solidarity. This might be a good card in our deck, but I think we're going to take the Heckma Sentinels. I don't want to get stuck playing no creatures. Well, actually, maybe we'll take the Limits. Yeah, let's do it. After all, it can cycle, and you know, in the games where we play a flyer or two and they play one of their own, we can steal it and bash them. You know, hopefully we'll run into that situation a few times. We're going to have some choices to make when we get finished with this draft about what we're going to play, and those choices are going to be pretty interesting. Violent Impact is a card that we could actually bring in this deck because of the desire to have the cards in the graveyard. Hoping we get that that 2/3 black back that can shock or bolt things if you've got enough instants or sorceries in the graveyard. I haven't played a deck anything like this one yet in this format, so I'm not sure how it's going to be. Oh man, Channeler Initiate is a really good card, and it's still here. Man, that means green was pretty open this time. That card's just very good. Compulsory Rest is a very good common, and Greater Sandworm. You know, white and green look to have been pretty open. That's kind of lame for us. We're gonna grab the cancel here. Not sure if we're gonna play it yet, but we're gonna throw it in. Throw it into the pile and see what we end up with here. All right, so here. Vizier is pretty strong, and it can cycle, and it can ramp. It probably is what we have to take over the Illumination. I really like the Illumination in the deck because it's an instant or sorcery that we can get down into the graveyard really fast. And later on in the game, we can draw 2 cards with it. It's a really good thing to get back with the Scribe of the Mindfuls. You know, I think it actually is just better than the Vizier in this situation. I do think the Vizier is generally better, but we just don't have much of a top end, and man, this thing is going to be good in the deck. I think we're going to take it. Alright, so Decision Paralysis is not going to be as strong as Floodwaters probably in this deck. So we are going to go ahead and take the Floodwaters. We really lack distinct finishers here, with just the 3 flyers that we have as ways to defeat the opponent, and I guess the Emberhorn Minotaur might be able to do it if we really run through their creatures with our removal. Okay, we're going to take this Scribe of the Mindful from our initial pack. I'm not sure what kind of build we're actually going to be looking at here. Again, we've got way more than the number of cards we need, but we only have 12 creatures in this pile, and several of them are Scribe of the Mindful, so I don't think we have a real option to play an aggressive deck. I think we're going to have to play a slower deck. We're not going to be using any of these cards. Don't think we're going to use Watchers of the Dead. Yeah, we're not going to. Wow, sticker Greater Sandworm. Green was so open, crazy open. Maybe one person in the whole table in green. Alright, so we may have to do this a couple times. First, let's split these up. Okay, so we're definitely going to play the Magma Sprays. Those are in no matter what. I think we have to play the Spells deck now. I don't think we have a choice. I'm pretty sad we didn't get that 2/3 black back. I thought he was going to table no matter what, but he did not. I think all these cards have to stay. The Heckma Sentinels, maybe not. What's the deck look like if we take those out? And the Initiate. Alright. If we keep these, let's see here. Get rid of a Brute Strength. Maybe get rid of an Entangler as well. Let's play all these 3s. This is 28 cards still. Get rid of the limits. Maybe get rid of these 2. And the Floodwaters. Here we go. go. This should be 24 cards we can run. So we do have a lot of ways to deal with their guys. We're going to have to kill them with one of these 3 cards, and it's probably going to take us a little while to kill them. This deck's not great by any means, but it's okay. It looks alright. Alright, let's throw some land in here. We're probably going to get beat really quickly by an aggressive deck. Kind of wish we had a second crab now. I guess we've got all these wrappings, so they could help us stay alive. We've only got 10 dudes, and only really 3 of them are real creatures we could actually win with. I guess 4. We could win with the Enigma Drake. It's probably going to have a pretty beefy front there. So if we didn't have this Essence Scatter, we could have that 2/3 guy, and that's what we should have, but we didn't go that route. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 instants or sorceries. That's quite a few. And the Tormented Voices should help us to get to what we need pretty well. Let's look at what's in our board that we pulled. Floodwaters, the 2 Heckma Sentinels, the Neff Crop guy, the Pathmaker, the Limits, the Brute Strength. All those are cards we can consider boarding in. Also the Reduced to Rubble. We can consider that as well. I'm not sure that stopping them from untapping 3 lands really does very much against them, but maybe it does. Maybe it does a lot. I think it's probably much better on the aggressive and when you're attacking them a lot, and I don't think that this deck can do that. I don't think blue-red can be built that way, really.